What up? This video is most likely not possibly going to be long at all. But I just watched a compilation of TikTok videos where basically black Americans were talking about all right, this ain't working. But they were talking about the things taking place in DC. And I couldn't do anything but kind of shake my head in silence. I remember when God had me first. How you doing? When God had me first speaking up about different things, right? One of the things I mentioned was people need to start homeschooling pies, right? Because I was able to foresee certain things were going to take place. I found out earlier or over the weekend that certain schools are now considering issues concerning being able to teach or just being able to steward the kids, right? Funding, all types of different things. Then there was the whole thing with the immigrants. And black people were all like, oh, let them get kicked out, blah, 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 blah. I was like, we need them to build the temple. Why? You read the word, some of you will be able to discern we need them to build the temple. Everybody feels like the temple that we should be watching or that we should be focused on is the one in Israel. When the word said that God is not coming back for a temple, a physical building, we, the body, are the temple he is planning to live in. The 12 tribes have to unite or come together, and the 12 tribes are mixed up of different ethnicities. Everybody's like, oh no, let them leave America, blah, 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 blah. So now we're at the point where black people, black Americans, watching the things go down in DC, and now they're like, oh, we got to get together. But when I was giving out solutions and suggestions, everybody was like, oh no, we can't do that. That doesn't make sense. Why would we do that? Blah, blah, blah. You were listening to constantly judge what I had to say, but you were not listening to hear what I was saying. Everybody had this whole spew. Oh, we listen and we don't judge. You were judging me every single word that I had to say. Had people actually listened and started homeschool pods when I first mentioned it, or started to work their way around making community groups or uh, networks, then when I stated it, now you wouldn't have to be sitting here saying, oh, we need to come up with community network. We need to do this. We need to do that. But now that it's crunch time, everybody wants to scramble, and now we have to make this. Now we have to do that. When I said quit, do you want to know why I said quit? The Israelites were not free until they stopped the work, and Moses came with the plagues. They had to stop the work that they were doing, and that hit Pharaoh harder than them continuing to get work and continuing to be blessed. When they halted work, that hit Pharaoh harder than them staying under Pharaoh's reign. I get why that would make a lot of people nervous to just quit their jobs and not know the future. Do you know the future now? Do you know the future now? You want to sit up under a voice that's popular, that has the money, that has the influence of people who like them. When God's mark is on somebody, hatred is the mark. It's not being liked. It's not people pleasing. Even though so many people have projected that onto me, it's none of those things. But now, everybody's trying to figure out what to do. Everybody was like, oh, you got to give solutions. There were solutions given. Nobody wanted to act on them. When I was telling people, if you're in the area or in a situation where you're not able to afford your setup to move, you hearkened and listened into the celebrities and influencers who were telling you, oh, you need to have a plan first. When sometimes all you need first is faith to make a move. You all watch me float around this country with no stacks of money and still watch God sustain me. But you wanted to listen to people who you see as successful. And I just seen the TikTok video. So I won't ask you who has spoken up about what's going on. Because we got to give a little bit more time to marinate, right? To see who's going to truly use their influence and their voice to actually speak up on the situation and speak up for the community, for the culture that they want to protect, right? We have to wait and see what's going to take place, right? I was given solutions, but because you didn't like the solutions, they weren't solutions. If neighborhoods and people had come together and said, hey, I do this, I do that, I do XYZ, and started to set up communities like it was prior, nobody would be worried. Immigrants would have been straight. The corners would have been covered. Because I was a voice in the wilderness with nothing based on your sight. My answers and my solutions weren't good enough. Even though the very people who you deem to be good enough would copy and imitate me. But you judged me and applauded those who would say the exact same thing that I said, who would then jump to investigate the exact same thing that I pointed out about certain people being frauds, certain people being control opposition, and you hearkened unto their voices anyway. And this isn't me encouraging you to take the switch now. And now, oh, you need to listen. No, I'm not saying none of that. I'm not even suggesting any of that. But you were quick to judge me. And all I see is that what I said could have been applied. You heard the prophetic message I gave where I said not to go to war with Israel. And you thought it was the nation of Israel, the land of Israel. And what is now taking place? A war against Israel, the children of Israel, not the nation of Israel. A targeting taking place on the children of Israel. You think because what God gives me to speak doesn't immediately apply, that it's not for you. When prophecy doesn't always work like that. You allowed your pulpited, puppeted prophets, and not all of them, just some of them, to speak against everything that I said. And I'm sitting and looking at the board. And if you had listened to things that I said, people think you have to have money always to make a difference. And you do need money to make a difference. You do. I'm not denying that. You need money to make a difference in certain situations. Sometimes your presence is enough to make an impact, to change things, to change systems, to change organizations. Sometimes your presence is enough. Sometimes a voice is enough. But people have gotten so comfortable with arguing and debating online about things that don't make sense. When I said women and men, especially black women and black men, need to stop these stupid arguments that's been going back and forth for the past few years, now they're targeting men. It's not to say that women are not capable of protecting themselves. But if you have kids, whether you're with that man or not, look at the state of the world today. Regardless, that child, especially if the parents are healthy enough, needs both parents. We online arguing about stuff that don't matter in the grand scheme of things. There's no unity because everybody was celebrating people being kicked out this way, being kicked out that way, and now everybody's like, oh, well, now it's our turn. What we going to do? What you going to do? Y'all thought that word was for the nation of Israel. When now you have to question, does the nation even like black people themselves? That said the children of Israel. The 12 tribes are Israel, Judah. The sisters, the same two that God had me give a prophecy about, who were committing adultery with their idols. Who have the people of today made idols? That they put their word above God's word, even though they see the very same God that they worship. And they still put their word above the word that God will put in the mouth of his prophet. And then you'll turn around and try to say that person's crazy. You know, you do kind of got to be a crazy person to sign up to say yes to being a prophet. You're hated by individuals who could care less about what you say, even if what you say is trying to help them. But because they can't see it today, oh, the person is crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. God not speaking through them. God not using them. Oh, they don't got this. They don't got that. Oh, they got to do this. They got to do that. Y'all been too busy sitting in the judge seat. It's crazy. Crazy. I've just been sitting here these past few days just sitting in bewilderment, amazement, and all types of other different things and emotions. Schools are about to shut down. Parents are already losing their jobs. Excuse me. People put everything online, which makes it easier, especially with AI and everything else. And now they gave everybody's passwords and information to Planetar, whatever the company is called. They gave all your information away to them. So it makes it that much even easier. There were all the leaks with the T app and all of the other things, and the T was really you that was being sipped by whatever organizations was behind all these leaks and everything else, right? While everybody else been moving strategic and hearkening to what I'm saying, they're telling you not to listen, but they listening, and they strategized and played and moved on the board to their benefit. But they told you don't benefit. Ain't that crazy? I just say okay, God, that they don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. The enemy listen and strategize to the T. They stopped telling and showing everything. Y'all wasn't really paying attention and listening anyway. What's next? How do you beat an enemy playing its game? How do you beat an enemy playing its game? It's rigged from the jump. How do you beat the enemy playing its game? You got to refuse to play. You have to be the one that establishes the rules. And not many are in that position. Unity, coming together. I've been seeing some of that too. Beautiful thing to see. How do you protect your community if you're giving all these secrets out online? The enemy done cut back on what they're sharing with you, but you're still freely giving everything to them. Then you listen to people who don't even fully have your best interest at heart. But because they have the receipts, quote unquote, that you want or that you deem acceptable enough, you'll follow them off the cliff anyway. It's interesting. Hopefully. Hi, everybody that said hey. My day went pretty great. Blessings, Cooper. Sorry to hear about your house, Nicholas. But anywho, that's my rant on people listen to judge. Y'all can keep talking back and forth about all of these things that don't even matter in the grand scheme of things if you want to. But I'm not understanding how that's gonna be a solution to the bigger problem. So yeah, I guess that's my thing to carry for can take up with me and the father, I guess. Everybody else concerned about stuff that don't make no sense. I'll catch y'all later.